2016 report by the bipartisan New American Economy Report found more than 30,000 immigrants in South Dakota are playing a vital role in filling workforce gaps. That includes on the farm. Where do you balance the needs of South Dakota's economy in this immigration debate? Mr. Bjorkman, you're first.
Well, the first thing is, immigrants are a rich and important part of our culture, and we've all have that immigrant experience in our family's background. So we need to honor and respect as citizens those who are here as citizens and lawfully. And the other thing is we have workforce shortage all across the nation, all across South Dakota. So we need to address those needs. The reason we have a need for immigrants, though, Sammy, is that we've got something like, in this country, 10 to 12 million Americans who are of working age, not working, or looking for work. Those are the people I saw in court every day. They struggle with mental health that's never been treated, grows into addiction, and it becomes a ticket to jail instead of a way to get treatment. And they're not in the workforce. They don't have a way to get healthy because we haven't provided them access to treatment. And so crime's biggest enemy is a safe home growing up, an education, and a job skill. That's where my focus is. Let's get these people to be tax-paying members of our society, good role models for their children, work the jobs that we need to have filled. And as we do that, there should be less of a need to bring people in from outside the country. In the meantime, we have to provide opportunities for farm workers and others to fill the jobs.
Thank you, Mr. Bjorkman. Mr. Johnson, how do you address immigration and its impact on South Dakota's economy?
Well, I want to start by telling people, what I'm not for. I mean, I'm not for sanctuary cities. I think they're terrible. I don't think we should be abolishing ICE. You see a lot of people in D.C. talking about that these days. And I'm not for amnesty. I do think there is a vital role for immigration done properly. That's a huge part of the American success story. And if you want to work hard, if you believe in American values, if you believe in the free market system, then you sound like you could be a pretty good American to me. But we need to acknowledge that there are millions of illegal immigrants in this country, and there are some in South Dakota, absolutely. I don't think anybody denies that. But we are a nation that values the rule of law. And I think if you've broken the rules, if you've broken the law, I don't think we can let you cut to the front of the line. We have got to hold you accountable when you break the rules. And so when we talk about immigration reform, I'm supportive of much of what the President is talking about. I think we can move to a more merit-based system. I think we can get rid of the visa lottery. I think we can reform how chain migration works. But I don't want any of those proposals to lead anybody to think that I am not pro-immigration. Again, immigration, when done properly, can help to continue to make America dynamic, continue to make it a melting pot, continue to make it the center of economic opportunity for the rest of the globe. And we have a great opportunity to make the reforms that are needed to make us even better in the future than we have been in the past.
Mr. Bjorkman, you have something to add?
Just briefly, Don. That's right. And one of the things we can do, 40% of the people who are here undocumented, not lawfully in the country, came here and just overstayed lawful visas. And so we've got to start enforcing on employers, and not just the low-level people who hire, but the CEOs who hire undocumented immigrants. After a reasonable waiting period, hold them personally accountable in law for hiring undocumented workers unless they can show they complied with E-Verify. And if you're not serious about going through a process like that, then we're not going to get a handle on undocumented workers. The second thing is we do need to continue to strengthen our borders.
Okay, thank you both.